King Charles III has been diagnosed with cancer. Buckingham Palace just confirming the news in a statement, but not saying which type of cancer.
Something serious is happening behind the palace doors. Queen Camilla has shared news that no one saw coming. She has been diagnosed with a dangerous illness. For years, she has been by King Charles's side, always strong, always smiling. But now she faces a health battle that could change everything. People close to the royal family are worried. Whispers are spreading. What does this mean for her? What does this mean for the royal family? Questions are everywhere, but answers are few. Now, the truth is coming out, and it's more shocking than anyone expected. Queen Camilla's deadly diagnosis. Now, let's talk about the heartbreaking reason Queen Camilla is making headlines all around the world. This news has shocked not only the UK, but also millions of royal fans across the globe. No one expected this, and honestly, it's hard to even believe. Queen Camilla has shared that she has been diagnosed with multiple myeloma, a rare and deadly type of blood cancer. It's the kind of disease most people don't know much about until someone close to them is affected. Sadly, that someone, in this case, is Queen Camilla herself. It is believed that Camilla first started feeling unwell a few months ago. She had been experiencing constant back pain, unusual tiredness, and even weight loss. At first, she thought maybe it was just stress or age catching up. After all, being part of the royal family comes with a lot of pressure, and she's been attending countless royal events. But things didn't get better. In fact, they got worse. She found it hard to stand for long hours during events. Even smiling and waving seemed tiring. That's when the doctors ran some tests. After weeks of checkups and endless hospital visits, the royal doctors finally gave her the heartbreaking news. She had multiple myeloma. Camilla chose to share this news with the world in the most graceful way. Instead of hiding it, she sat down for an emotional interview with a royal reporter. With a trembling voice, but with her usual calmness, she shared her diagnosis. She wanted people to hear it from her, not from rumors. She also released an official statement through Buckingham Palace, where she thanked everyone for their love and support. Camilla admitted in the interview that hearing the words, "You have cancer," changed her world forever. She said she felt like the ground had been pulled from under her feet. But she also shared that she is determined to fight this battle with all her strength. Understanding multiple myeloma. The silent killer. Many people might not know what multiple myeloma is. It is a type of blood cancer that affects the plasma cells found in our bone marrow. These cells are supposed to help us fight infections. But when they turn cancerous, they start damaging the body from the inside. The symptoms can be really hard to notice at first. They include tiredness, back pain, frequent infections, and weak bones. Most people, just like Camilla, think it's normal aging or stress. But sadly, this disease keeps growing silently inside the body until it's too late. Multiple myeloma is very dangerous because it doesn't just attack one part of the body. It spreads and affects the bones, kidneys, and even the immune system. That's why doctors call it a deadly disease. The survival rates depend on how early the cancer is caught. Some people live for several years with treatment, while others may have a much shorter time. Sadly, there is no permanent cure for multiple myeloma yet. The treatments available, like chemotherapy, radiation, and stem cell transplants, only help to slow it down. Doctors say that this cancer is more common in people above the age of 65, which makes Camilla's case even more worrying. Many women her age don't even realize they have it until it becomes very serious. Experts from across the world have already started reacting to Camilla's diagnosis, calling it a brave step for her to share this news publicly. They hope it will raise awareness about this deadly disease and help others catch it early. The impact on Queen Camilla's royal duties. Now, as you can imagine, this diagnosis has not just affected Camilla's health, but also her role as the queen consort. Being a senior royal is not easy. There are hundreds of public appearances, charity events, and royal tours every year. It's a full-time job that demands both physical and emotional strength. Sources close to the palace have said that Camilla is already stepping back from many of her royal duties. She has canceled several public appearances, and palace insiders say this is just the beginning. Doctors have advised her to rest and focus on her treatment, which will involve chemotherapy and other aggressive treatments. King Charles is said to be absolutely heartbroken by the news. He has been by Camilla's side every step of the way. In fact, royal insiders say that the king is even considering cutting back on his own royal duties so he can spend more time with Camilla during this tough time. What's even more worrying is that this comes at a time when King Charles himself is battling his own health issues. As many of you already know, Charles was recently diagnosed with cancer too, though the palace hasn't shared what kind. This means that both the king and queen are now fighting serious health battles at the same time. Prince William and Kate Middleton are also said to be deeply worried. With both Charles and Camilla unwell, a lot of the royal responsibilities may now fall on William and Kate's shoulders. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, though estranged from the royal family, have reportedly reached out privately to express their concern and support. There is growing speculation about what this means for the future of the monarchy. Will Charles and Camilla step back fully? Will Prince William need to step up sooner than expected? These are questions many people are asking right now. Camilla's personal message, a woman of strength and grace. In the middle of all this, Queen Camilla has shown incredible courage. In her interview, she spoke openly about her feelings and her plans for the future. She thanked everyone who had sent her letters, prayers, and good wishes. She also shared a very emotional message that touched many hearts. She said, "I have always believed in facing life's challenges with courage and grace. This is not an easy journey, but I know I am not alone. I have the love of my family, my husband, and the people of this country. For that, I am truly grateful." Camilla also made it clear that while she is going through treatment, she wants to spend more time with her children and grandchildren. She wants to focus on what truly matters: family, love, and making every moment count. At the same time, she said she will continue supporting the causes she deeply cares about, like women's health, domestic violence charities, and reading programs. But of course, everything will now depend on how she feels and what her doctors advise. She ended her message with a small but powerful request. She asked people to get regular checkups and never ignore the signs their bodies give them. She hopes her story will encourage others to take their health seriously. What this means for the future of the monarchy. Camilla's diagnosis has left many people wondering what the future holds for the British monarchy. With both the king and queen battling cancer, this is truly an uncertain time for the royal family. For centuries, the royal family has symbolized strength and stability. But now, the future feels shaky. There are talks in royal circles about the possibility of a regency, where Prince William might have to step in to perform the duties of the king if Charles becomes too unwell. This is not something that would happen overnight, but the fact that people are even talking about it shows just how serious the situation is. Some experts say that the royal family might never be the same after this. At the same time, many people feel a new sense of connection to the royal family. They see Camilla and Charles not just as royals, but as human beings, parents, grandparents, husband, and wife, facing the same fears and struggles as any other family. Public sentiment right now is mixed. Some people are sending endless love and prayers to Camilla. Others are quietly questioning what this means for the monarchy's future. Will people continue to support the royal family if their two most senior members are no longer able to lead? One thing is clear: the coming months will be crucial. The royal family will need to make some very difficult decisions. But for now, the most important thing is Camilla's health and well-being. Queen Camilla's diagnosis has left many in shock, and the future remains uncertain. As the royal family faces this difficult time, all eyes are on what happens next.
The palace has just issued this statement.
The courtroom falls silent, then screaming. Queen Camilla, the woman who once walked with grace and power, is no longer calm. Her life sentence has just been announced, and something inside her snaps. She throws off her royal mask, revealing a side of her no one has ever seen. Judges freeze, guards rush forward. People in the room gasp, shocked by what's happening, but Camilla doesn't care. She lashes out, knocking over chairs, shoving anyone who gets too close. Her eyes burn with fury. She shouts at the judge, at the lawyers, at the guards holding her back. This isn't the same queen the world once knew. This is a woman who has lost everything, And she's not going down quietly. What made her lose control? And how did it come to this? Background. How did Camilla end up on trial? No one could have ever imagined that Queen Camilla would one day sit in a courtroom fighting for her life. But here we are. It all started years ago when Camilla finally became queen. Some said she was the woman who stood by King Charles through thick and thin. Others, however, always saw her as the royal family's biggest mistake. After becoming queen, Camilla enjoyed all the power that came with the crown. But with power came greed. At least that's what the prosecutors claimed. Over the years, rumors started floating around. People whispered about Camilla misusing royal funds, lavish parties, expensive jewelry, secret getaways, all funded by money that was meant for the people. The press picked up on this quickly, and the media ran wild with stories of missing funds and secret offshore accounts. As if that wasn't enough, there were also talks about Camilla abusing her power inside the palace. Some former staff came forward, claiming that she treated them horribly. They said she would scream at them, make their lives miserable, and even threaten to get them fired if they didn't obey her every word. For years, these stories were brushed under the rug, but the list of accusations just kept growing. On top of everything, conspiracy theories took over the internet. Some people started believing that Camilla had been plotting her way to the throne for years. There were crazy claims that she had even pushed Princess Diana out of the way to make room for herself. Of course, no one could ever prove that, but the theory stayed alive and kept getting bigger. Slowly, the public began to turn against her. At first, they didn't believe the rumors. But when more and more evidence came out, things changed. People started calling her the evil queen. News channels debated her guilt every night. The royal family tried to stay silent, hoping it would all die down. But it didn't. It only got worse. Finally, after months of investigations, Camilla was put on trial. It was the scandal of the century. Cameras lined up outside the court. Reporters fought for a front row seat, and the world waited with bated breath to see what would happen next. No one thought it would come to this, but the evidence was too much. There was no turning back now. The verdict. Life sentence shocks the world. The courtroom was packed. You could hear a pin drop. Everyone waited for the judge to speak, holding their breath. The jury had made their decision, and now it was time for the final blow. The judge looked right at Camilla, his face stern and serious. "Queen Camilla," he said, "for your crimes against the people, this court sentences you to life in prison." The moment those words left his mouth, the room exploded. Gasps echoed through the courtroom. Some people even started whispering to each other, unable to believe what they just heard. Camilla, who had been sitting tall and proud all this time, suddenly went pale. Her mouth dropped open. For the first time, she looked scared, truly scared. She turned her head slowly, looking at the royal family sitting in the front row. King Charles sat frozen, his face blank. Prince William didn't flinch. Some even said he looked relieved, almost as if he had been waiting for this moment for a long time. Kate sat beside him, her face cold, her eyes unreadable. Not a single tear was shed. The media wasted no time. Within minutes, breaking news hit every TV screen. Queen Camilla sentenced to life. Britain stunned. No one had expected it to end like this. But the worst was yet to come. The meltdown. Camilla snaps. As soon as the judge finished speaking, Camilla completely lost control. It was like watching a volcano explode. She shot up from her seat, her face red with rage. "You can't do this to me!" she screamed, her voice cracking. "I am your queen!" The judge tried to stay calm, but Camilla wasn't done. She started pointing at the jury, calling them liars and traitors. "You've all been paid off! This is a setup! A bloody setup!" she yelled. Then she turned her anger toward everyone in the courtroom. She cursed the royal aides sitting nearby, screaming that they had betrayed her. "I made you! I made all of you!" she shrieked. "You ungrateful peasants!" Security guards rushed to stop her, but Camilla wasn't going down quietly. She grabbed whatever she could, a glass of water, papers from the desk, and threw them across the room. One glass shattered near the judge's table. The courtroom was in chaos. Reporters quickly raised their cameras, trying to capture every second of the royal meltdown. "You think you'll get away with this?" Camilla roared. "I will haunt every single one of you. Every single one." It was madness. Total madness. The judge had no choice but to adjourn the court immediately. Guards struggled to hold Camilla back as she kicked and screamed. Later, analysts called it the most unhinged royal moment ever seen. And honestly, they weren't wrong. Who she attacked, targets of her wrath. Camilla's rage knew no limits that day. She went after everyone she could see. But some people felt the heat more than others. First, it was the judge. She pointed her finger right at him and shouted, "You're corrupt. You were paid to do this. You'll burn for this." The judge, of course, stayed quiet, but his face said it all. He knew things had gone way out of control. Then came the royal aides. Camilla called them snakes and traitors. She claimed they were the ones who sold her secrets to the media. "I fed you, clothed you, and this is how you repay me," she screamed. Next, she turned to Prince William and Kate. The entire courtroom went silent as she pointed at them. "You two have always been jealous. You plotted this. You wanted me gone from day one," she accused. Kate didn't react. William simply stared back, cold as ice. But the biggest betrayal, according to Camilla, came from King Charles himself. She faced him with tears and fury in her eyes. "You threw me to the wolves, Charles. After everything I've done for you," she cried. "I made this family what it is." People in the room whispered that this wasn't just anger. It was years of bottled-up hate finally exploding. Old rivalries, hidden secrets, everything spilled out in front of the entire world. Royal family's reaction post-meltdown. Once Camilla was dragged out of the courtroom, the royal family went into full damage control mode. They knew this was bad. Really bad. The palace released a short statement within hours. It said, "Her Majesty's actions were regrettable. The royal family remains committed to the law and the people." Cold. Emotionless. Almost like they had already erased her from their lives. Prince William later spoke to reporters. His words were simple but powerful. The monarchy must move forward. Just like that, he made it clear. Camilla was done, and there was no coming back. Meanwhile, rumors started swirling about King Charles. Some said he broke down in private. Others claimed he hadn't said a word since the sentencing. For a man who loved Camilla more than anyone, this was a nightmare. The media didn't hold back. Headlines screamed, "Queen Camilla's final shame." Newspapers sold out within hours. Polls showed her approval ratings had crashed to the lowest ever recorded for a royal. Camilla had officially become the most hated woman in Britain. What's next? For Camilla, prison life and legacy. With the trial over, the question everyone started asking was, what happens to Camilla now? Her life as queen was over. Now she was just another prisoner. Some papers called her prisoner number 001, the fallen queen. People imagined her sitting in a small prison cell, wearing a gray uniform, eating plain food. No jewels, no palace, just cold, empty walls. From queen to inmate, just like that. Some said Camilla was already planning her next move. Rumors spread that she would write a tell-all book from prison, a book that would expose every secret of the royal family. And you know what? People would buy it. They'd buy it just to know what really happens behind palace doors. There were also talks that she might give interviews from prison. Tabloids were offering millions for just one exclusive. And honestly, who wouldn't want to hear what she has to say? Then there's the question of Charles. Will he divorce her now? Can he even stay married to someone sitting in jail for life? Most experts say the divorce papers are probably already being drafted. One thing is clear. Camilla's royal title is gone. Stripped away. She's no longer queen. She's no longer anything. Just a name that will be remembered for all the wrong reasons. And the damage to the royal family? It's huge. Some say the monarchy may never recover from this. Others believe this is just the beginning of the end. The courtroom may have settled, but the chaos Queen Camilla unleashed will be remembered forever. A fall from power like this is something no one saw coming. Was this the real her all along? Or did the pressure finally break her? One thing is clear. This moment has changed everything.
Thursday marks 20 years since Princess Diana was killed in a car crash inside a Paris tunnel.
For years, people have wondered what really happened to Princess Diana. Some believed it was just a tragic accident, but others thought there was a secret behind it. Now, something unbelievable has happened. Queen Camilla has been sentenced for Diana's death. How did it come to this? What will happen to the royal family now? The truth has finally come out, and nothing will ever be the same again. How Camilla became a suspect. For years, people have whispered, argued, and even shouted about Camilla's role in Diana's tragic story. Was she really just the other woman? Or was there something more? Let's go back to where it all started. Camilla and Charles go way back, before Diana was even in the picture. They met in the early 1970s and fell in love, but for one reason or another, Charles didn't marry her. Instead, he ended up with Diana, a young, beautiful, and innocent woman who seemed perfect for the role of a princess. But there was a problem. Charles never really got over Camilla. Even after marrying Diana, Charles kept Camilla close. Too close. Diana wasn't stupid. She saw what was happening. Imagine being married to a man who secretly loves someone else. That's what Diana had to live with. And she didn't just stay silent about it. In 1995, she sat down for one of the most famous interviews in history. Looking straight at the camera, she said the words that would be remembered forever. There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded. Boom. Just like that, the world knew the truth. Diana was suffering, and Camilla was the reason. People turned against Camilla instantly. Even after Diana's tragic death in 1997, Camilla was still seen as the villain. When she finally married Charles in 2005, many people refused to accept her. Some still blame her for Diana's pain, and now, with new evidence coming to light, some believe she played a role in Diana's death itself. But how did she go from being a disliked woman to a murder suspect? Let's talk about it. New evidence that sparked investigation. For years, the case of Diana's death was considered closed. The official story was that she died in a tragic car crash in Paris, caused by a drunk driver trying to escape the paparazzi. But was that really all there was to it? Recently, something changed. New documents were leaked. Documents that, according to insiders, were never meant to be seen by the public. These papers hinted at a bigger plot behind Diana's death, something much darker than an accident. But that's not all. Some former royal staff members, who had stayed quiet for decades, finally spoke up. One witness, whose name hasn't been revealed yet for security reasons, claimed that Diana feared for her life before she died. She allegedly told her closest friends that she believed someone was planning to get rid of her. And guess what? She even wrote a letter predicting that she would die in a car crash. That's chilling, isn't it? But here's where Camilla comes in. According to these leaked documents and witness accounts, there were people within the royal circle who saw Diana as a problem. She was too popular, too powerful, and, most importantly, she wasn't afraid to speak the truth. This made her dangerous, especially to those who wanted Charles and Camilla to eventually be together without any obstacles. Now think about it. If you were Camilla and you knew your path to becoming queen was being blocked by a woman the whole world adored, how would you feel? Some believe Camilla didn't just wait for fate to remove Diana. She helped make it happen. But is that really true? Why the case was reopened? For years, people who questioned Diana's death were dismissed as conspiracy theorists. But when so many people believe something, can they all be wrong? The pressure to reopen the case had been growing for a long time. With the new evidence coming to light, authorities had no choice but to take another look. The big question was, if Diana's death wasn't an accident, then who was behind it? And if there was a plan to eliminate her, how deep did it go? Investigators started pulling old records, re-examining statements, and questioning people who had stayed silent for years. One thing became clear. There were too many loose ends in Diana's death. Too many strange coincidences. And the more they dug, the more Camilla's name started popping up. At first, many thought this was crazy. Why would Camilla, of all people, be involved? But then, when the leaked documents suggested that Diana had warned about a plot against her, people started listening. Diana had mentioned a woman close to Charles, who might have had a reason to see her gone. Could she have been talking about Camilla? The legal pressure leading to Camilla's involvement. As investigators gathered more evidence, the royal family stayed silent. They didn't want to comment on rumors. But behind palace walls, something was happening. Lawyers were being called. Meetings were being held. There was a real fear that this case could turn into the biggest royal scandal in history. And when the police officially announced they were looking into Camilla as a person of interest, the world went crazy. Imagine that. A queen being investigated for the murder of another queen. It sounds like something out of a movie, but it was really happening. Camilla, the woman who had spent decades trying to win over the British public, was now at the center of a criminal case. Some sources claim that when she first heard about the investigation, she laughed it off. She thought it was ridiculous. But as days went by and more evidence came out, she stopped laughing. She reportedly became paranoid, avoiding public events and staying behind palace doors as much as possible. And then came the breaking point. One of the former royal staff members who had been close to Diana was brought in for questioning. What they said has not been fully revealed yet, but insiders claim it was something huge, something that directly linked Camilla to the case. Whatever it was enough to push investigators to take the next step. Charges and key accusations. The prosecution wasted no time. They made it clear from the very beginning. They believed Camilla was involved in Diana's death. But how? What proof did they have? First, they talked about motive. Why would Camilla want Diana gone? Well, everyone knows about the love triangle. Diana herself had said it. There were 3 of us in this marriage. Camilla was always there in the background, waiting. But was she just waiting, or did she take matters into her own hands? Then came the real bombshell. The prosecution claimed they had evidence linking Camilla to people who might have had a hand in Diana's accident. They brought up secret phone calls, hidden meetings, and even documents that suggested Camilla knew more than she ever admitted. But here's the real kicker. The prosecution hinted that Camilla may have been working with powerful people. People with influence, money, and the ability to make things disappear. Could this mean the royal family itself was involved? Was there a hidden network protecting her all these years? The courtroom was silent. People were hanging on to every word. Was Camilla just a woman in love, or was she part of something much darker? Camilla's defense. Then it was time for Camilla's lawyers to speak. They had one job, to convince everyone that Camilla was innocent. But how do you fight against years of rumors, conspiracy theories, and a public that never really liked you in the first place? Camilla sat still, her face pale, as her lawyers argued that she had nothing to do with Diana's death. They said it was absurd. They pointed out that Camilla wasn't even in the country when Diana died. How could she have planned something so big? Then they played the sympathy card. Camilla was a victim too, they said. The public had hated her for years. She had suffered. She had been called names, blamed for ruining Charles and Diana's marriage, and now she was being accused of something even worse. They painted her as a woman who had simply fallen in love with the wrong man at the wrong time. And then came the biggest moment. Did Camilla herself speak? Did she take the stand? Yes, she did. She stood up, hands shaking slightly, and looked straight at the jury. Her voice cracked as she spoke. I did not kill Diana. I had nothing to do with her death. But then came the twist. She didn't stop there. She turned the blame elsewhere. She suggested that if there was a conspiracy, then she wasn't the one pulling the strings. Someone else was. But who? Was she hinting at the royal family? The government? Someone even bigger? People whispered among themselves. What did she mean? Was she telling the truth? Or was she just trying to save herself? Shocking testimonies. And then, the trial took another shocking turn. Witnesses started coming forward. Some of them had never spoken before. Others had been ignored for years. But now they had the world's attention. One former royal staff member claimed they had seen strange meetings between Camilla and people linked to British intelligence. They had overheard conversations about Diana being a problem. A driver who worked for the royal family revealed something even darker. He claimed that the night Diana died, there was already talk inside the palace about what had happened, before the news had even broken. How could they have known so soon? Unless they had expected it? And then came the biggest shock of all. A former security officer, someone who had worked closely with Charles and Camilla, took the stand. He looked nervous, wiping sweat from his forehead. He took a deep breath and then said it. "I was told to keep quiet. I was told Diana's accident wasn't an accident." Gasps filled the courtroom. Even Camilla's lawyers looked shaken. Who told him to keep quiet? Why? The judge called for order, but the damage was done. The jury had heard everything. The world had heard everything. Final verdict and sentencing. The courtroom waited. Hours passed. People outside were glued to their screens. What would happen? Would Camilla walk free? Or would this be the day justice was finally served? Then, the jury returned. The room held its breath. The judge asked the foreman to read the verdict. Guilty. The word echoed through the room. Camilla blinked as if she hadn't heard it. Guilty? Number that couldn't be right. The judge began to speak. He talked about the seriousness of the crime, the need for justice, and then finally he gave the sentence. Life in prison. The room exploded. Some people cheered, others gasped. Reporters rushed outside to break the news. Queen Camilla, now just Camilla Parker Bowles again, had been sentenced to life. And then came her reaction. At first, she sat frozen. Her face turned red, her hands clenched into fists. Then, suddenly, she stood up and shouted, "This is a setup! I didn't do anything." She turned to Charles, who was sitting nearby, his face pale and expressionless. "Say something. Tell them." But Charles didn't move. He just stared ahead, like he wasn't really there. Camilla tried again. She begged, she screamed, but no one listened. The guards moved in, grabbing her arms. She fought, but it was no use. They led her away, her voice still echoing through the room. And just like that, it was over. But was it? Because as Camilla was taken out, the questions still remained. Was she really the mastermind? Or was she just a piece in a much bigger game? And if she was, then who was still out there, hiding in the shadows? So, what happens next? Camilla has just been sentenced. The entire world is in shock, and now the big question is, where does she go from here? Camilla's fate. Now, let's be real. Camilla is not the kind of person to just sit back and say, "Oh well, I guess I'll go to prison now." She has spent decades climbing her way to the top. She went from being the most hated woman in Britain to the queen of the country. Do you really think she will give up that easily? Camilla still has powerful friends, expensive lawyers, and, most importantly, King Charles himself. He has spent years defending her, making the public accept her, and trying to erase the memory of Princess Diana. Would he just stand there and let her rot in jail? Absolutely not. So, of course, the first thing Camilla will do is appeal. Her lawyers will argue that the trial was unfair, that the evidence wasn't strong enough, and that she was targeted because of who she is. They might even say that the case was nothing but a conspiracy to bring down the monarchy. But here's the problem. Appeals take time. A long, long time. While the process is happening, Camilla will have to wait. And no, she won't be waiting in her fancy palace. She will be in prison. Well, Camilla won't be thrown into just any regular prison. She won't be sitting in a tiny cell with 10 other women. She is still the queen consort, and whether people like it or not, she has special status. This means she will likely be sent to a high-security prison for VIPs, where she will have her own cell, some level of protection, and probably more comfort than an average prisoner. One possible location is HMP Bronzefield, the UK's most high-profile women's prison. It has housed some of the most dangerous female criminals in Britain, but it also has private cells for high-profile inmates. Camilla would likely have limited contact with other prisoners for safety reasons. But make no mistake, prison is still prison. There are no royal servants, no fancy dinners, no designer dresses, just a small room, a metal bed, and a life completely controlled by prison rules. Can you imagine Camilla waking up to the sound of prison guards, eating simple food off a plastic tray, and having no access to luxury? Would she even be able to survive it? And then there's another question. How will the public react to seeing a queen in prison? Would people feel bad for her? Or would they celebrate, saying justice has finally been served for Diana? The monarchy's future. Now, here's where things take a dark turn for the royal family. Because this isn't just about Camilla. This is about King Charles, too. Think about it. His wife has just been convicted for being involved in the death of Princess Diana. His entire reputation is now hanging by a thread. People are furious. The media is going crazy. Protests are breaking out in the streets. And the big question on everyone's mind is, can King Charles stay on the throne after this? For years, there were already people who didn't want Charles to be king. Many believed the throne should have gone straight to Prince William after Queen Elizabeth's death. Charles was never as popular as his mother, and now, with this scandal, his rule is in serious danger. The British monarchy survives on public support. If the people lose faith, the system starts to fall apart. And let's be honest, after this trial, how many people will still support him? The Queen was loved because she stayed away from scandals. Charles, on the other hand, is now right in the middle of one of the biggest royal scandals of all time. Some experts believe that he will try to hold on to the throne, hoping the public will eventually move on. But others think he might be forced to step down, either because of public pressure, or even because of a decision made within the royal family itself. And if Charles steps down, who takes over? Prince William. Will this scandal lead to the end of the monarchy? Now, this is the biggest question of them all. Could this be the final nail in the coffin for the British royal family? We have to remember, the monarchy has already been struggling. Younger generations are losing interest. Many people feel like the royal family is outdated, unnecessary, and a waste of taxpayer money. But this could push things over the edge. For decades, people have suspected that Diana's death wasn't an accident. Now, with Camilla's sentencing, many will see this as proof that something dark has always been lurking within the royal family. And when the public loses trust, it's very hard to get it back. Imagine this. Millions of people demanding the monarchy be abolished. Protests outside Buckingham Palace. Governments debating whether to cut off funding to the royals. Could we really see the end of the monarchy in our lifetime? One thing is for sure. After this scandal, the royal family will never be the same again. But now, I want to hear from you. Do you think Camilla deserves this sentence? Will Charles survive the backlash, or is his reign doomed? And most importantly, do you believe this could be the beginning of the end for the British royal family? Let's talk about it in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button. It really helps out the channel. And if you don't want to miss the next update on this insane royal scandal, subscribe and turn on notifications so you'll be the first to know when I drop a new video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Do you think Mrs. Parker Bowles was a factor in the breakdown of your marriage?
Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded.
What if the royal love story we thought we knew was hiding dark secrets? A shocking discovery has surfaced. Queen Camilla's private diary, rumored to contain explosive details about King Charles. From secret scandals to untold truths about their controversial romance. This diary could change everything we know about the British monarchy. What terrifying revelations could it hold?
Did you find it harrowing?
I did find it. And I think what made it so readable was your writing, your prose, your descriptions of nature.
Buckle up, because this royal drama is about to get even more scandalous. Stay tuned for the jaw-dropping details. Charles and Camilla first meet, 1970. It was the summer of 1970 when Prince Charles, the future King of England, met Camilla Shand for the very first time. The encounter happened at a polo match in Windsor Great Park, a setting that couldn't have been more fitting for a royal romance to begin. The air was filled with excitement, horses galloping, and laughter echoing across the field. Among the crowd stood Camilla, a confident and witty young woman who would soon capture the attention of the young prince. As the story goes, their meeting wasn't just casual, it was electric. Charles was immediately drawn to Camilla's charm and humor. Unlike many others in royal circles, Camilla didn't treat Charles as just a prince. She spoke to him like a regular person, and her down-to-earth personality made her stand out. She reportedly broke the ice with a cheeky joke that caught Charles off guard. Camilla reminded him that their great-grandmothers had both been mistresses to the same king. Her boldness left Charles both amused and intrigued, and the two hit it off instantly. Camilla, who was 23 at the time, wasn't from a royal family, but she came from an aristocratic background. She'd grown up around horses, countryside parties, and the kind of life that made her comfortable in the royal world. Charles, on the other hand, was just starting to step into his role as the Prince of Wales, balancing the weight of royal duties with his personal desires. Meeting Camilla felt like a breath of fresh air for him. Over the next few months, Charles and Camilla spent more time together, and their relationship began to blossom. They shared a love for the countryside, polo, and good conversation. Camilla had a way of making Charles feel at ease, something he deeply valued as the pressures of royal life surrounded him. Friends of the couple at the time said their chemistry was undeniable, but their love story hit its first obstacle not long after it began. Charles's royal duties called him away to serve in the Royal Navy, and their relationship was put on hold. While Charles was away, Camilla rekindled her romance with Andrew Parker Bowles, whom she would later marry. Though their love story didn't take off at the time, that first meeting in 1970 set the stage for decades of connection, heartbreak, and eventual reconciliation. It was the beginning of a royal relationship that would go on to shape history. Camilla marries Andrew Parker Bowles, 1973. The year was 1973, and the British social scene was buzzing with excitement. Camilla Shand, a young woman with a sharp wit and a warm personality, was set to marry Andrew Parker Bowles, a handsome and charming officer in the British Army. Their wedding was the talk of the town, and it became one of the most glamorous social events of the year. But behind the smiles and celebration, there was an untold story of love, heartbreak, and what might have been. Camilla and Andrew had been in an on-again, off-again relationship for several years. Andrew, who was known for his good looks and charisma, had many admirers, and their relationship wasn't always smooth. Despite the ups and downs, Camilla seemed deeply taken with him. She was ready to settle down and start a family, and Andrew appeared to be the perfect match for her. However, what many didn't know at the time was that another man, Prince Charles, had already captured Camilla's heart just a few years earlier. Prince Charles and Camilla had met in 1970, and their connection was undeniable. They shared a bond that was rare and unique, but timing was not on their side. Charles's royal duties required him to join the Royal Navy, which meant he had to leave Camilla behind. In his absence, Camilla rekindled her romance with Andrew, and their relationship grew stronger. When Charles returned, it was too late. Camilla and Andrew's engagement had already been announced. On July 4th, 1973, Camilla and Andrew tied the knot in a grand ceremony at the Guards Chapel in London. The wedding was attended by high society, including members of the royal family. Camilla looked radiant in her white dress, smiling as she walked down the aisle. From the outside, it seemed like a perfect fairy tale. However, those close to Camilla knew that Charles was never far from her thoughts. Despite marrying Andrew, Camilla and Charles remained friends. They stayed in touch, and their bond remained strong even as they built separate lives. Camilla and Andrew went on to have 2 children, Tom and Laura, but their marriage was far from perfect. Charles and Camilla's affair resumes. The story of Prince Charles and Camilla Shand had always been complicated, but by the mid-1980s it took an explosive turn. Although Camilla had married Andrew Parker Bowles in 1973, and Charles had tied the knot with Lady Diana Spencer in 1981, the connection between Charles and Camilla never truly disappeared. Behind the grand royal events and public appearances, their bond remained strong, and by 1986, their affair had quietly resumed. At this point, Charles and Diana's marriage was already struggling. What had started as a fairy tale union was now filled with tension, misunderstandings, and unhappiness. Diana was aware of Charles's lingering feelings for Camilla, which only added to the cracks in their relationship. Charles, feeling increasingly distant from Diana, found comfort in the arms of the woman he had always turned to, Camilla. Their rekindled affair wasn't something that happened overnight. It began subtly, with Charles and Camilla spending more time together at social events and private gatherings. Camilla, who was still married to Andrew Parker Bowles, was a source of emotional support for Charles. She understood the pressures of his royal life in a way that Diana, still young and inexperienced at the time, struggled to grasp. For Charles, Camilla was more than just an old flame. She was a confidant, a friend, and someone he could rely on. As their relationship deepened, rumors of their affair began to spread. Friends and aides close to the couple noticed their growing closeness, and whispers about their meetings started to reach the public. Diana herself confronted Charles about his relationship with Camilla. The affair caused a ripple effect of pain and scandal. Diana's emotional struggles became more apparent, and her marriage to Charles continued to unravel. Meanwhile, Camilla faced her own challenges, as her relationship with Andrew Parker Bowles also began to break down. By the early 1990s, the affair was no longer a secret, and the media frenzy surrounding it became relentless. Looking back, the resumption of Charles and Camilla's affair in 1986 marked a turning point in the history of the British monarchy. It not only led to the eventual collapse of two marriages, but it also set the stage for decades of public and private drama. Their love, though controversial, would later endure and reshape the royal family in ways no one could have imagined. Charles marries Diana, 1981. It was July 29, 1981, when the world witnessed what seemed like the perfect fairy tale. Prince Charles, heir to the British throne, married Lady Diana Spencer in a grand ceremony that captured the hearts of millions. With over 750 million people watching on television worldwide, it was called the wedding of the century. The union between the shy 20-year-old Diana and the 32-year-old prince appeared magical. But beneath the surface, the story was far more complicated. The wedding itself was nothing short of spectacular. St. Paul's Cathedral, chosen for its larger capacity compared to Westminster Abbey, was packed with royals, dignitaries, and celebrities. Diana arrived in a glass carriage, wearing a stunning ivory silk gown with a 25-foot train, designed by David and Elizabeth Emanuel. The sight of her stepping out of the carriage became one of the most iconic images in royal history. The young bride looked every bit the princess she was about to become, and the crowd erupted in cheers as she made her way down the aisle. Charles, dressed in his naval uniform, waited at the altar, appearing calm and composed. The couple exchanged vows, though there were small, telling signs of nerves. Diana famously mixed up Charles's name during the ceremony, calling him Philip Charles Arthur George, instead of Charles Philip Arthur George. It was a minor mistake, but it hinted at the underlying stress of the day. From the outside, everything seemed perfect. The streets of London were lined with thousands of well-wishers waving flags, and the reception was a grand affair. The couple's kiss on the balcony of Buckingham Palace became a defining moment, replayed countless times in the media. Diana, with her natural charm and beauty, quickly won over the public, earning her title as the People's Princess. However, while the world celebrated, the marriage itself was built on shaky ground. Charles and Diana had only met 12 times before getting engaged. Their relationship lacked a deep emotional connection, and Charles's lingering feelings for his former flame, Camilla Parker Bowles, cast a shadow over their union. Diana, though smitten with Charles, would later reveal how lonely and isolated she felt. Diana confronts Camilla about the affair. By the late 1980s, Princess Diana could no longer ignore the growing distance between her and Prince Charles. Whispers of an ongoing secret between Charles and Camilla Parker Bowles had turned into louder rumors. Though Diana had always sensed that Charles's heart belonged to someone else, she decided to face the situation head-on. In 1989, she gathered the courage to confront Camilla at a birthday party, an event that would become legendary in royal history. Many well-known figures had gathered for a celebration in London, unaware that the evening would take a dramatic turn. The party was held for Camilla's sister, but the happy occasion had a tense undertone. Diana, feeling increasingly isolated and hurt, chose this moment to speak directly to the woman she believed was threatening her marriage. It was a small gathering, which made it easier for Diana to corner Camilla in a quiet corner, away from the main party. Diana approached Camilla with determination, her heart pounding. Despite her nerves, she spoke calmly, but firmly. She famously said, "I know what's going on. Don't treat me like I'm stupid." People who later heard about this confrontation often wondered how Camilla reacted to being challenged by the Princess of Wales. According to Diana's own accounts, Camilla tried to maintain her composure, but the tension in the air was undeniable. The conversation that followed was brief but powerful. Diana made it clear she wanted no secrets in her marriage, and that she deserved honesty from both Charles and Camilla. In some reports, Camilla replied that Diana had everything she could want: fame, beauty, and 2 beautiful sons. Diana, however, saw these words as dismissive and hurtful, feeling that Camilla was undermining her emotional needs. This confrontation was a key moment in Diana's life. Though she didn't end the affair that very night, she took a brave step by standing up for herself and her children. The media would later learn of this face-to-face meeting, adding more fuel to the already intense coverage of the royal marriage. For Diana, it was a moment of releasing pent-up anger and sadness. In the years that followed, the tension between Diana, Charles, and Camilla grew stronger, eventually leading to tabloid headlines around the world. Yet, this single evening at a birthday party remained a turning point. Diana's confrontation showed her willingness to fight for her dignity, even if it meant challenging the very traditions and expectations that had long defined royal life. Charles and Diana live separate lives, 1986. Charles and Diana's marriage started like a fairy tale, but by 1986, the cracks were impossible to ignore. Instead of sharing a warm and loving bond, the Prince and Princess of Wales seemed more like strangers under the same roof. Friends, staff, and even the public noticed that the couple was drifting apart. The magic of their 1981 wedding was gone, replaced by long periods of living separate lives both in and out of the palace. At the time, Diana was a global icon. Her warmth and compassion shone during royal events, charity visits, and public engagements. People adored her for her natural charm and stylish outfits. However, behind the scenes, she felt lonely and misunderstood. Charles, meanwhile, continued his royal duties and focused on his private interests, like polo and gardening. He spent more time in the countryside, enjoying peaceful retreats and the company of close friends. Their busy schedules offered an easy cover for how little time they actually spent together. Though both tried to keep up appearances for the sake of tradition and their roles, tensions were growing. Rumors about Diana's unhappiness and Charles's connection with Camilla Parker Bowles only added more strain. Diana's heartfelt attempts to find emotional support from Charles often went unanswered, and Charles, feeling pressured by royal expectations, withdrew even further. As a result, the two formed separate routines, rarely sharing intimate moments or genuine conversations. Even at public events, keen observers could sense the distance between them.